Good evening. This is a meeting of the Chelsea Licensing Commission. Today is Thursday, December 14th, 2023. Joining me tonight, we have fellow commissioners Mike McAteer, Emily Cherniak, myself, Marnie McAlpine, our licensing clerk, Naomi Lebron, and our assistant city solicitor, Peter Christopher, along with Captain Betts from the police department. To start things off this evening, can we get an adoption of the minutes of the November 9th, 2023 Chelsea Licensing Commission meeting?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Next up, we have a clerk's update.
Okay, I just need a motion or a discussion on the New Year's Eve hours.
Can you remind us what we did last year?
Because it was, I think,
We had a 2 a.m. license last year.
yeah, 2 o'clock because it was a Saturday. And this year it's a Sunday night, so I don't know what you guys,
With it being a Sunday night, if we want to do the same thing or roll it
I
in a little
think so.
earlier?
I don't know, it feels like every other town's gonna have a 2 o'clock. And I hate to handicap our own businesses. I'd be in favor for 2 o'clock.
Yeah, that's fine. We can deal with it if it's a problem. There's something.
Thoughts from the police department?
Could you repeat what you were just discussing? I'm sorry, I was taken away from.
That's okay. So we were talking about New Year's Eve and the extension of hours on New Year's Eve night. Last year, we extended the licenses until 2 a.m. Commissioner McAteer and Cherniak both stated that they would be in favor of doing that again this year, even though New Year's Eve is on a Sunday this year.
On a Sunday. So I believe our minimum staffing on a Sunday is lower than what it would be on a Friday or a Saturday. So I would just offer that, to you. Maybe there's a way we can augment staffing for that particular night. I'm not certain if they could have, a detail officer or somewhat another officer on overtime maybe that night, but just to afford us the opportunity to have more coverage. Other than that, I think we would be okay with the past practice.
Have we historically had much in the way of issues in the city on New Year's Eve?
Well, it's like any other night on a Friday or a Saturday night, and you throw in New Year's Eve and alcohol. I think on any given night, we have the potential for something to happen. So we'd rather err on the side of caution and maybe run that by the chief to see if we can have an additional 1 or 2 officers on standby with the added hours.
I think that makes sense. Other thoughts? No? I'm not opposed to keeping the licensees open either, because as you said, Mike, I think everybody else is going to be open, and I'd hate to hurt the Chelsea businesses and just have everybody go elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I guess we need a motion to extend the on-premise licenses until 2 a.m. on New Year's Eve 2023.
Yeah, motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
okay, I just wanted to update everybody on the ABCC holiday calendar and the dates that Section 12 and Section 15 can open and not open. Off-premise licensees may remain open until 11:30 the day before all holidays. They're not, off-premises cannot be open on Christmas Day, which is a Wednesday, December 25th. Is that right? That's weird. That's a typo.
Yeah, I think it's on
Yeah,
a
it will
Monday
be
this year.
Monday, December
Yeah,
25th.
Monday.
Same as on premises, they cannot they cannot open on Christmas Day until after noon. And that's it on that. And then, last month I omitted the calendar licensing commission meetings for the following year. So I sent it out to you guys, and I just need a motion to approve any dates, all the dates, 6 months.
I have it in front of me.
Huh?
The only clock
want me to
in
run
my head
through
is
it?
February.
So the
I
first
remember
one
it
is
yet.
January 11th, 2024. The next one is February 8th, 2024. March 21st, 2024. April 11th, 2024. And that's going to be an early, we need to leave this place by 7:30 because the school committee has a meeting. May 9th, 2024, and June 13th, 2024.
The only problem I might have is February 8th. February 8th, sometimes I'm away that weekend, that week.
I can be here all of
We
those
can talk about it
days.
too next month. If I
So-
can't make it, I'll let you know. I'll know by then.
Emily, no major issues with the calendar at this point?
No.
Can I get a motion to approve those dates?
Motion for those sets.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And sorry, on another note, at the last meeting, it was suggested or told that I was supposed to send a letter or a memo to all liquor licensees. And I did, and the memo says, this holiday season, we want to remind all licensees that it's a violation to sell alcohol, wine, and beer to intoxicated individuals. We also want you to be mindful of individuals purchasing alcohol, wine, and beer for intoxicated individuals and minors.
Appreciate you sending that out.
That's it.
Next up, we have the renewals for the 2024 season. And at this time, we are looking at
Completed.
the, looking to get a motion to approve the following completed applications for renewals of liquor license. We're going to do a group batch, if that's okay with you guys?
Yep.
Of liquor licenses, common vicular licenses, amusement and entertainment licenses, Class 1, 2, and 3 licenses, rooming houses licenses, and constable licenses. Can I get a motion?
I'm sorry.
Yep.
On the constables, it's only for 1 year. That's what the police department decided.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything about what's gonna happen the following year and the year after that, because it's usually a 3-year license, but this year is for 1 year.
And the licensees are already aware of that because they
Yes.
completed the paperwork.
Motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving right along. We have a public hearing to consider a change of officers, directors, LLC managers for an all kinds of alcohol beverages on-premise consumption license application for Interstate Management LLC, DBA Town Place Suites at 30 Eastern Ave in Chelsea, Mass. Hi. So just before we get started tonight, a reminder to everybody that when you do come before us, to please step up to the microphone, speak your name, your reason before us today, and just make sure you speak clearly into the mic so we can hear you and those watching the recording can also hear. Thank you.
Merari Carrasquillo, GM at the Town Place Suites. I'm here for a simple change of officers. Nothing changed to the operations of the hotel or ownership.
And we saw you a couple of months ago,
Yeah,
if
no.
I remember correctly?
Yes, October, I think it was.
Yes, yes, when we had done the change of manager for
Yes,
the establishment.
yes.
Yes, I do remember that. Fellow commissioners, any questions on that application?
So the manager's the same though, right? Not changing the liquor?
No change to the hotel operation or
Yeah, it's just-
management, it's just officers.
Okay. No other questions?
Captain, did we do the necessary background checks on everyone?
We did. The people in question were from out of state, and we ran the appropriate checks, and everything was fine.
Perfect. So no concerns?
No concerns
From
at
the
all.
police department? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this matter? Any other questions, concerns from my fellow commissioners?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Can we get a motion to approve the change of officers, directors, LLC managers for the all kinds of alcoholic beverages on-premise consumption license for Interstate Management LLC, DBA Town Place Suites at 30 Eastern Ave, Chelsea, Mass?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next on the agenda, we have a conference as to the potential non-compliance of liquor license rules and regulations of the City of Chelsea Licensing Commission to EH24 LLC, DBA Hampton Inn, Boston Logan Airport, Chelsea at 200 2nd Street, Chelsea, Mass. You could just step up to the mic, please.
Good evening.
Hello.
My name is Elizabeth Pisano from Upton, Connell, and Devlin, counsel for EH24 LLC. And with me is Elizabeth Beso. She is the proposed manager of record on the liquor license that is currently pending with the ABCC.
Correct. Thank you for coming before us. To start things off, as was stated, this is merely a conference because Captain brought something to our attention at our last meeting that was of a little bit of concern, just in that we had just approved a liquor license and just talked about the importance of being in compliance with the city to make sure that we are doing the right thing and being very efficient in getting the necessary security footage to our police department, particularly when there is any sort of violent incident that takes place, to ensure that we can go after whoever it is that needs to be taken into custody or have a quick investigation. Since you do not currently have a liquor license, you're not in any sort of violation of our rules and regulations because you don't have that liquor license yet. However, if that liquor license had already been approved by the ABCC and that had been in place, and the video surveillance was not submitted when the police department requested it, you would be in violation of the city's rules and regulations. So we wanted to make sure that we make that very clear moving forward before that liquor license is in play, because we don't want to end up having to have you before us for a disciplinary hearing if an instance of this nature comes before us again. Captain, if you wanted to speak on the matter, I know that you are probably the most in tune of what incident took place.
Okay. So you're familiar with the incident? Well, you're familiar with the response and, you know, the inquiry, if you will, about the incident on the 29th of October.
Yes.
The officers went down there. There was a, substantially violent crime that had occurred.
I'm not sure if we even have found out if it was something that took place inside the hotel, outside the hotel, across the street.
Right.
We really have not gotten any details.
Right. Well, it was definitely inside the hotel.
In the hotel.
Inside the hotel. And I think you were made aware of it that night, or the management was made aware of it that night.
No, there was just an agent on the desk. 3 officers came into the hotel. They spoke with the front desk agent. She didn't super understand what they were talking about.
Can I just interrupt and ask you to step up to the mic? Thank you.
I apologize.
Sure.
So there was a desk agent on that night. When the officers came in, she wasn't quite clear exactly what they were looking for. She did allow them to go right up to the guest room, because they already had the information of what guests they were looking for. But they didn't really disclose exactly what had occurred that prompted them to be there. The desk agent told me when I got into the office on Monday afternoon, so there was a delay in notifying management that there was some sort of issue going along. They just knew that they made contact with the guests. They came back downstairs, told the desk agent, we're all good, and left the hotel. I found out on Monday when I got a phone call from the detective saying that he needed footage. I asked just to follow our protocols to get a subpoena. I then was sent the subpoena the next day, and then our chief engineer, who's in charge of the footage and that sort of thing, had some issues downloading it. I was away. We did get it to them by the subpoena date. So the subpoena date was for the 15th. We got them whatever we could by the 14th. And that is documented in email format.
And that's of this week, the 15th?
No, of
No.
November.
Okay.
So I provided everything to them. They were asking it for a specific format, which we informed them. Unfortunately, we could not put it on a USB due to the IT security regulations within our brand and within our management company. I did provide it to them via Google Drive, so they had
Okay.
access to it, as well as the documentation in the email format. That is not the format that they wanted it in, so I was able to provide them with that. The detective called, and I said, if you provide the USB, we can get that information that I provided via the Google Doc. He provided that to me, and I downloaded it today and sent him that email.
Okay, so I think the question lies, maybe in the interpretation of what you were told or what the initial agreements would be as far as the licensing requirements. I believe you were told, or was to be led to have been believed, that you have to have a licensee on the premises to be able to access it, or have somebody in short communication that you can get to have it provided to us. So the person who was on the desk should have been able to call somebody to have us come in, right? And in order to be a licensee, to fall under the guidelines of the city, the video has to be provided within 30 days, right?
We did provide it in 30 days.
I'm
Yeah.
talking along as we go. But the subpoena route is generally not the agreed upon way that we operate. If the police go to a licensed establishment for a crime, even if it's not a crime, it's for a license violation, you're supposed to provide the video in a timely fashion, not through a subpoena where we have to wait, in excess of a week, 2 weeks. Regardless of what the company policy may be, I think that you were informed at the outset that within the 30-day period, 30 days of video has to be archived, but we have to have access almost immediately to something.
Absolutely.
That's something we can make sure we're.
Just so we're on the same page going forward,
If
because
it-
if the level of the crime gravitates to say something like an active shooter or something along those lines, because we've had occasions at the hotel prior to that, where the hotel has actually been the victim, that we haven't had to jump through these hoops for video. And it's not just your business, it's other businesses in the city. So for us to provide a timely service for a victim or for a corporation or whomever, we have to get the video back in a timely fashion. So to jump through that additional hoop of a court subpoena is generally not the way that, we like to operate.
When it was portrayed to us, the reason that we asked for it was because no information, he didn't say it was an incident that happened at your property. If it was anything to do with the liquor license or liquor violation, that would have been a no-brainer. Our staff knows to provide that. But no information was disclosed about why this was even being asked for. So we provided it in with our timeline and within our regulations of our management company. So they acted in what they thought was best at the time. But of course, we will act with
Okay.
immediacy when it's in regards to definitely a license and or situation that's going on.
Okay. Because I believe that, aside from, professional courtesy or however it is we want to, word it, there are times when we won't be able to say what the investigation is for, right? Just like you have certain confidentialities amongst your hotel guests, but part of the license does not include that language, I believe, where we have to actually disclose what the nature of the investigation is.
It's my understanding, and I would refer to you, that once you have that liquor license, if our police department comes and asks you for video, you need to provide that video. They don't have to tell you why they're asking for that video. It needs to be provided, and this is part of why we asked you to come before us, because I know it was a topic of discussion the month when we approved you to be the manager on that license and approved the license, because we've been discussing video surveillance in the city at every single meeting for months, because we are having repeated issues with licensees not following the city's rules and regulations. And it's one of those things where it's something everybody's agreeing to. It is not only for the benefit of the police department, it's for the benefit of our residences, it's for the benefit of all of our businesses. So it's very frustrating to know that you had been here in a meeting where we're talking about the importance of being in compliance with our police department. I know we've also been talking about what does it mean when we say in a timely manner, and really it means within 24 to 48 hours is what we were saying the last time, because they're asking for it for an investigation. So in order for them to actually proceed and get somebody, we all know, we've seen things happen in this world. The faster they get that information, the faster that they can process, get other information, and make things better and safer for all of us. So it was just a little concerning to the commission when we learned last month that this incident had occurred, the video surveillance had not been provided, and at the time of our meeting, I want to say, and I may be a little off, but I want to say that the subpoena had been provided, and it had been at least 5 days since the subpoena had been provided at the time of our meeting, and the police department still hadn't received that information. So it was a little concerning, and if you went back and you looked at our meeting, you would see that my fellow commissioners were very upset to see that somebody that we just had this conversation with, while they aren't necessarily needing to follow their rules and regulations quite yet, it doesn't look great moving forward, that we would have a lot of faith that you're going to be following our rules and regulations, which is why we wanted to have this meeting today, to have the conversation and make sure that we're all in understanding so we don't have to have a disciplinary.
And we did have a discussion and a conversation with our staff members when this incident did occur, because as I explained in the email trail to the detective, the reason it took so long was because there was a system error when downloading the files. We were trying
Well, that
to do
doesn't solve for the subpoena.
No, of course.
Right.
I think the hotel management in general, they've gone through their training. They have all of their security cameras in place, and I think it was more of like there's no alcohol being served yet. And regardless of the fact that public safety is the utmost important thing in the city, and we've made that very clear to the entire staff that the public safety is the utmost important thing to the hotel and to making sure the police department get exactly what they need when they need it. I think there wasn't adequate staff there on a Sunday morning when the police came, because they weren't necessarily trained for the alcohol purposes yet, because the license hadn't been issued and there is no alcohol on the premise. So there is a little bit of lapse in getting the right employees there at the right time, which we've addressed now.
But the subpoena question wasn't asked when we had this conversation. Like, there was no clarification. You didn't ask about a subpoena process. Like, we were pretty clear we needed the footage. So the subpoena piece was not even brought up as a question, as like, this is our policy. Like, we would have had that discussion. So I just think there's just
I think it was a lack of information and miscommunication.
It's not a lack of it. If there's a subpoena policy at the hotel, then this should have been a conversation about video and the police having access to it right away.
I think Emily's just referencing, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Emily's referencing that when we met and we approved your liquor license and we talked about you needing to provide video surveillance when asked, that at that time,
that didn't come up.
There should have been a conversation that our hotel policy requires a subpoena, right?
Understood.
Yeah.
I think when I read your rules and regulations, it was my interpretation, and I think the hotel's interpretation, was being responsive and accommodating when there is an investigation and being cooperative and producing things in a timely fashion when asked for it. And I think there was a 24 to maybe 48 hour.
Even if there isn't an investigation, even if it's something that happened off-site, we need that film for coverage. A lot of times it happens off-premise, but your cameras are helpful, and we need them, and that's part of the,
And we want to be as helpful as
Regulations.
possible.
I think you should have, one other suggestion that we had talked about was making sure there is a staff member who, we don't need an IT person to get the footage, because an IT person isn't really available at 4 a.m. So I think that was another eye-opener to make sure now going forward how seriously, the city takes it, and to make sure that this issue doesn't happen again, and that footage is going to be readily available.
And again, if it was raised as, when I talked to the detective and initially brought that up, he said, oh, not a problem, we totally understand, I can get that to you by tomorrow. So if he had said like, no, I please don't do that, I need to, have the footage right away, I would have made an immediate phone call and then gotten him the footage. But it was portrayed as in, yep,
Like they had
that's,
till the
yeah,
15th. So I think if there was a sense of more of an urgency, they would have acted a lot faster.
that's not what the police report said, though. Police report didn't say that. It's not, basically, it said that someone said you have to go through this process, that they weren't gonna give it up.
no, I was the person that spoke, and
We have the emails too.
yeah, I have the emails as well.
And Elizabeth regularly checked in to make sure, are you sure you have everything you need? Do you need anything else? We have the emails too, if you need to see them.
Not the emails I saw in the police report, it's the incident.
When they went to the hotel.
Exactly.
Yeah. The police report did say, and you weren't there.
No, I was.
Right.
when
It's
they're
probably
talking
a
about
training
talking to
issue.
the
It's-
desk agent, correct?
Right, it's probably a
Okay.
training issue. The
That's-
employees need to know that we
Right,
need that
yes.
tape.
Of
Yeah.
course. And that incident, of course, as she stated, was something we took and we've addressed with the staff.
Great.
And how are things progressing with the ABCC?
Good. The investigator has submitted his recommendation for approval to the commission. He was satisfied where the locations of all the cameras were, so it didn't seem as though there was any issue with the locations of the cameras.
Perfect. So, question that I just want to confirm is that moving forward, when we have an issue, is the company going to say that we need a subpoena when the police department comes and asks for footage?
No, they
What-
will
Like,
not.
once you have that license in place in particular, obviously, you're not in violation until that license is in place. But will we get that information when the police come and ask for it? Or are we going to get told that it's company policy that we need to get a subpoena first,
You will get the footage right away
without a subpoena?
without a subpoena.
Okay. Other questions from my fellow commissioners? No. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this matter? Seeing no one. Captain, anything further from the police department?
No, I understand your position as being, like a corporate entity and having to follow certain guidelines, so I don't want it to come off like we're, trying to badger you individually for anything. We just want to make sure we're on the same page collectively, because we all have one, common goal of, getting the job done in public safety and whatnot.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We want to keep our hotel guests safe, our staff safe,
In the community.
in the community, exactly.
And that's truly why we wanted to meet and have this conversation before we have a larger problem on our hands. And I know as the commission, we don't want to have to discipline anybody. So the fact that this was all a brand-new scenario, we wanted to make sure that we addressed it immediately before it turned into something down the road. Anything else? Nothing? We good? Okay. Thank you for coming
Thank you.
before us. We appreciate that. And that will close our conference unless you had anything further that you would like to address. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 11th, 2024, and our meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.